Uh, Hello, my name is Ty, and today I'm going to be talking to you guys about adolescent development and how it's portrayed in All American. So yeah, let's get right on into it. All American follows Spencer, who is a 16-year-old who leaves his home in Crenshaw, which is an underprivileged school district, to go to Beverly Hills High School. Spencer is loyal and tough and has a really strong moral compass from his humble upbringing in Crenshaw. And across the series, he kind of struggles with this social class difference, where he's come from a place where there weren't enough resources, where at Beverly Hills, it's pretty much like too many resources, and all the people are just have a lot of money. Um, Spencer's dad leaves when he's a young boy, and it forces Spencer to kind of grow up. And across the show, he also has these just very good communication skills, and also seems to be very good at things, and has shows a lot of like maturity and has had to obviously grow up quite a bit. But Spencer's recruited to go to Beverly Hills High School by Coach Baker. Coach Baker, yeah, recruits him from Crenshaw and then brings him to go to school at Beverly Hills High School. But Spencer can go to Beverly Hills High School, he goes and moves in with Coach Baker so that he is in the same school district and can attend. But in Coach Baker's home, it really is centered around football and it's up on this pedestal, and that's kind of more important just for other characters. But Coach Baker's daughter, Olivia, also goes to Beverly Hills High School. And at the beginning of the series, she's just gotten back from rehab after an overdose. Olivia really struggles across the series with feeling like unseen, or at least the beginning. She kind of has is overshadowed by football and kind of there's a certain point in the show where she starts to ask for help and kind of get the social support that she needs. Uh, and then her brother Jordan is also a football player at Beverly Hills High School and attends high school there. Um, Jordan is a very teenager character. He, conforms a lot to his peers and is making a lot of like mistakes that just seem like common sense, but he has to experience it for himself. But across the show, he kind of struggles with the relationship Spencer has with his dad, Coach Baker, and he gets sort of jealous of that dynamic and how much support and how much effort that Coach Baker puts into Spencer's career. But now that we talked about the characters, I want to get into how accurate it is. So here's the first aspect, which is this is I think the most realistic aspect of All American, which is the invincibility fables. And the characters that show invincibility fables are definitely Jordan. Like I said, he drinks and he does all these things where he doesn't think about what happens after, where he'll drink before a football game or he'll smoke weed before a football game, and then it kind of comes back to bite him. And it's definitely just like invincibility fable where it's just uncalculated and he's got this feeling of like, like I can do it. And then it comes back and gets him. And then Asher is also a player on the football team, and he has this big arc in the series where he goes and he throws a party at a house that's not his, and then a bunch of damage happens on the property, and then him and Spencer end up needing to react to that. But definitely that invincibility fable of where they didn't really think about what happens if something goes wrong, and I'm now caring for someone else's house, even though I didn't ask permission to throw a party at their house. And then there's Spencer, and he's honestly one of the best examples of invincibility fable. He's really hot-headed whenever people start to mistreat his friends and just throws himself into fights. He did it a lot in Crenshaw, which is one of the things that kind of is very good about him going to Beverly Hills High School, where he has to not fight as much, but he kind of goes back and forth from Crenshaw, where he kind of when he's in Crenshaw, he's about to fight and he's hot-headed and he has this invincibility where he kind of thinks he can do anything, and it kind of comes back to bite him a little bit too. But this is definitely one that has some realistic aspects, but then some that are less realistic, which is that Coach Baker and Spencer have definitely this adult partnership relationship where he really trusts Coach Baker, Spencer, and he develops this trust where it's anything from personal problems, football, kind of just conflict of interest, anything where he is having problems, he's able to go talk to Coach Baker, and it really definitely builds up his self esteem. I think to have a figure that really cares about him after his father's been absent, he definitely is a father figure at the beginning of the series, and kind of helps Spencer transition to Beverly Hills High School. The only thing that I find kind of unrealistic about this is that the way Spencer communicates to Coach Baker is just definitely a very adult way to do it. And like I said, he get definitely has had to grow up an extra bit, but also, when you don't have your dad around, there's definitely other like factors, and he just has a lot of like maturity and is able to communicate. And I think it's probably not likely with him being 16 years old. And then this is definitely the least realistic one, which is the buddy relationship between Olivia and Jordan Baker. Olivia struggles with her substance abuse issues kind of mid-season, and then expresses these feelings to her family, and then her and Jordan kind of start creating this more like intimate relationship where they really care about each other and are sharing like secrets and are really making efforts to care about each other and like talk about each other's problems. And I think this is actually realistic. I know a lot of people and siblings who kind of had this relationship in high school, but I think it definitely lacks like that sibling banter of that, like, there isn't any really problems between them. They are just kind of like maybe fighting sometimes about like really small issues, but like I just don't really think that this was as realistic because it's just very healthy communication where they're able to communicate a need and a want, and they're able to react and kind of have nothing like from that like adolescent brain to kind of like hold them back. Um, Even though I kind of mentioned some downfalls, I think All American is actually still really realistic. The stars of All American are all above 20 and are playing 16-year-olds. So I think that definitely adds to these like dynamics of where it's a really realistic setting, but it's not necessarily making a lot of sense because they are 20 years old and are communicating like adults because they are adults. And you can't do much about that, but I think that definitely contributes to like why it feels unrealistic, but it does, yeah, it really compensates because the situations and environments that are created are definitely based off research and make sense. But let's also now get into the research of like what is realistic and what is backed up. This is a study I found by Moore. They found that the better social support is correlated with lower stress and improved mental health for high school athletes, but definitely helps especially Black athletes. And this is crazy relevant to All American, where Spencer works a job. He is a full time football player, a full time student. He commutes from home and his house in Beverly Hills. He has all these different spaces where he has social support, which is like his second home at the Bakers, where he definitely develops like sibling like relationships with the Baker kids, and they really support him. And then there's definitely more like resistance from the athletes at Beverly Hills, but across the show they become this team that really do care about each other and they all support each other. And then the support of his family, which he goes home on the weekends and they really have his back and believe in him. And like he has all this support, even though he's handling all this stress and all this craziness, he does have this support. And it's definitely relevant in All American where he has all this help and people who are on his side. But then another dynamic that's backed up by research is another study, which is performed by Kike Schaefer. I don't really know how to say that name, but that one found that like any social group in adolescent helps develop the brain, and it because it helps teach social skills and emotional skills. The study also found that the lack of interaction has been linked with negative lifespan results, uh, which I think that's important just to say that like if you're not having adolescent exposure to different social situations, that's really gonna like dampen how much they're gonna be able to do once they're in adulthood. But Spencer's been in a football team his pretty much entire life. At least from the context of the show, is that he's been playing football since he was like 6. And he kind of has this glow of that he's learned all these social skills, and he's just a people person and people really like him. And I think this definitely could be a result of his social group of the football team as he's grown up, of that had all this experience with people and had different social groups, and I think it really also helps with him and his ability to adapt to be a part of a new football team when he goes to Beverly Hills High School. Which kind of moves us on into the next bit, which is potential resources that would help the characters in All American. And the first one I found was the Big Brother and Big Sisters of Gallatin County. And this is a program where there's an older brother, and it's normally like it's within like younger children and adolescent children, where it's like a kindergartner is paired with like a high schooler or like a middle schooler, and it's like kind of like this mentor figure that has a little bit more wisdom that can kind of like help them in these contexts. And I think that's really relevant from like the like adult partnership aspects that I was mentioning, where it's not exactly an adult partnership, but it does kind of create that dynamic of that maybe, once, that kid who was in that program grows up, they do find an adult partnership, but it's been like modeled to them. And then there's the Boys and Girls of Southwest Montana, which that's an after school program that gets kids outside and participating in outside activities. And I think that's really great because that's going back to the social group, where there's just, opportunity to build social skills and also to be outside and have new experience. I brought these up because obviously it's relevant to the content that I brought in, and I think that if some of the characters had like these early on experiences, it might help with some of these kind of adolescent troubles as they go through the different like experience that comes with being an adolescent. But thank you so much for watching. All Americans are a really great show, and here are my references. And yeah, thank you so much.